everybody. It's nice to see you. Hopefully, we'll have a few more people join. If not, that's totally okay. We're going to make some awesome sea creatures today. What I wanted to share with you is a little bit about my work first, and then I'm going to place a little inspirational video for you, and then we'll get started on our sea creatures. I'm going to go over the materials, so as I'm showing my own work, you could gather all the materials that you might need today. So to start off, a piece of paper with a pencil or marker is great so we could sketch out our animals. Once we have a plan, we're gonna use, you could use newspaper. I have recycled paper from my sketchbook, old sketches that I no longer need, that I could use as the base of my sculpture. If you don't have anything like that, you could always use fabric scraps, tin foil, paper towel. We can be creative with what we have. The next thing you'll need is tape and maybe some cardboard scraps. If you're doing anything with fins, you're gonna need some cardboard and scissors. And then for your tape, it's gonna be either painter's tape or masking tape. If you only have clear tape, that's okay. It just does get a little slippery, so it's hard to cover with the paint. Okay, and then of course we have our paints, our brushes, our water containers, and anything else you might want to glue on your animal, like gems, googly eyes, all that kinds of stuff. Okay, so I will go over that again, but that will give you a good idea of the things you need to have in front of you. So first off, let's start with me. So my name is Melanie Billark. I am a Toronto-based visual artist and art educator. So I create lots of programs for kids, for community members. I teach a lot of lessons and workshops for kids and teens. And of course, I do art on my own as well. So my art practice is all about the environment and how I can create art to make something beautiful with recycled objects, or make people think about different ways of interacting with the environment in a safe and sustainable way. So here's my website. And where you can find me on social media. I will write that in the chat at the end of the workshop as well. So you could always find out what I'm up to. Maybe I'm doing a workshop that you're really interested in, or you want to come out to see my art shows. All of that is regularly posted on my website and my social media. So here's a range of projects that I have done. Oh, now all the people are coming in. Hi, everybody. So I'm just going over who I am as an artist, and then we'll begin our workshop. So as I mentioned before, my name is Melanie Billark. I'm a visual artist and art educator. And this is all the information on where you can find me, but I will also put that in the chat for you just at the end here. Okay, so this one was a project I did called the Telephone Booth Project. And I was asked to create a space for the public that was reusing an area in the city that was no longer functional. So this telephone booth was broken and the phone did not work, but the light still did. So what I did is I created my own little ecosystem and greenhouse inside this broken telephone booth for a weekend event here in Toronto. And at the end of it, I, of course, restored the telephone booth back to its natural state. Here is me picking milkweed seeds. So if you know anything about milkweed, you will know that it's the only food that butterflies can eat, right? So what I was doing is collecting milkweed and spreading it in an area that didn't have a native species. It didn't have any food for the butterflies. So I wanted to redistribute the milkweed in that area to create more butterflies. Here's another idea I had where this was in a window, like a window of a gallery. And I wanted to talk about environments and how we control all of the different environments around us in the city. How does, global warming affect how we live? How does that affect our natural environments? So I do a lot of projects like this that either contain nature or talks about nature or sometimes attracts nature. So my work is always something about the environment. So this one too, I saved this old washing machine from the landfill and I created a sculpture out of it. This one's all about my little ecosystems that I created, and I wanted to create a really nice wall that people could enjoy and look at. So if you're ever interested in seeing more of my work, you could always go to my website after this. I've been doing a lot of work recently about cleaning up our beaches. This was all found at Sunnyside Park, and our Great Lakes are starting to collect a lot of plastic particles. So what I have been doing is collecting them as well and creating art with them. Right, I've intertwined them in some of my ecosystem boxes here. This was a project that I did over the summer. I was asked to do an artist residency at Artscape Gibraltar Point, which is on the Toronto Islands. And I went there for 1 week with only tools, only hand tools. And these are all the things that I collected from the beaches. So the black illustration, that's made from charcoal from people's fire pits. And then you can see this little close-up. It's made from construction fences, plastic bags, plastic particles, and then different textures and textiles that I found as well. Same with this one. This one was all collected from either upcycled stores or found from outside that I wanted to create a beautiful new piece of art with. Instead of using all new materials, I upcycled and used all materials that I found. So same sort of idea here, collecting all these little plastic bits and creating a beautiful mural with them. So these are bottle caps and fences and straws and things that I found on the beach. Okay, so I've done weavings. This is all weavings that I did with kids. This was at a children's festival. I created the big structure and all the kids from the neighborhood helped me fill it up by using all of the materials that were donated to me and upcycled from the local school. So there's so many cool things you can do with recyclables, with garbage, with upcycled items. This was a newer installation that I did, and it's made from 668 plastic grocery bags. So you can do so much with materials that you might think are garbage. So that's kind of the gist of my art practice. And what I wanted to show you, just to inspire you a little bit, is this nice little video I found on YouTube. And the next page here, this just has a bunch of animals that might inspire you to create for your project today. So what we are going to do, I can come back to this, but what we are going to do is we are going to create our own 3D animal that is made from either old sketches like I'm doing, maybe newspaper or recyclables you have from your house. So it's really quick. It's not that long of a video, but here's a nice little video I thought was a great way to share with you guys a little bit about, the ocean. Maybe there's an animal in here that might inspire you. Okay, I'm gonna play that. It's just a YouTube video called A Whale's Tale. It. So that video.
Last minute holiday shopping? That's what Walmart's here for. Shop in store or online at walmart.ca and pick up for free in just 4 hours. Check off everyone on your list at Walmart, even up until the last minute.
Okay, sorry about that. So that video talked a little bit, it was kind of like a silent film, but it talked a little bit about the different problems in the ocean right now. So a lot of the reasons why these animals are becoming endangered is because their ecosystem and their environment are changing. So this could be about global warming, it could be about pollution, it could be that there's not enough food for these animals anymore. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to create a sculpture with all of you that was kind of a celebration of the ocean, and you could pick your own animal from the ocean to create your 3D animal. So here's two examples that I did before. So here's my little whale, right? Yours is gonna look something like this too. And here's a little sea turtle that I made, right? And on the inside of these is all recycled paper and cardboard. Okay, so if anyone has any questions, you may raise your hand or unmute yourself and let me know. If not, I'm just going to continue on. Okay, so I'm going to go over our materials once again. First, I'd like to start off with everyone having a piece of paper that you could sketch your animal in. If you like, write what animal you are going to do in the chat so I have an idea of how you might need help creating this. Okay, so if you have an idea of what animal you want to do, write it in the chat. It could be any ocean animal. Because I've done a whale and a sea turtle already, what I want to do is I want to create, I think, a narwhal today. Okay. Ooh, a fish. That's a great idea. I love that. Anybody else have an exciting animal that they want to share? We can think about it still. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tilt my screen down so you can see. And what I want everyone to do is just sketch out the animal that you want to make so we know what type of parts we need. Okay, it doesn't have to be the most amazing sketch. It just has to have all the different parts. So you could do a shark, a whale, a turtle. You could do a narwhal like me. You could do a starfish, a jellyfish, just a regular fish. So what I'm going to do is start off with my narwhal's body. I'm going to have its little fins. I'm going to add the tail. So I'm just going over this with marker. And its beautiful horn. Now for your animal, you could add any design elements that you want. Maybe you want your narwhal or fish to be like a rainbow fish. Maybe you want it to have shiny spots. You don't have to do your animal realistically. You could do it for fun. You could be the designer of it. Okay, so there's the little narwhal I'm gonna make. Ooh, a dolphin or turtle, great idea. I love that. All right, so if anyone needs help with their specific animal throughout the project, if you unmute yourself and just let me know, I'm able to help you that way. The dolphin will have a similar body as the narwhal, but the fins will be up here. A turtle, we have mine as an example. So as long as in your sketchbook, you're drawing the basic shapes that you need. And for a fish, same thing. Draw out the type of fish you want to do. Okay, so what we're gonna start with, make sure you have some tape. It's best if you have painter's tape or masking tape. If you only have clear tape, that's okay. It's just a little harder to paint. Okay, so I'm gonna keep my narwhal picture sort of in front of me so I can reference it. And then these are all old sketches that I didn't like or don't need anymore. So you could use your old sketches too. You could also use newspaper, tin foil, old like rags, cloths, anything that you could upcycle is best. Okay, so the first step to creating a 3D sculpture is that we need to make the body. If you are doing something that has a head coming out, that's gonna be second. So for instance, my whale was one big shape. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same with my narwhal. It's one big shape. So what I do is I crumple up my paper. For my narwhal, I kind of want to crumple it in an oval sort of shape, right? This isn't thick enough. I want my narwhal to be a little more plump. So once you've crumpled one up, if you're doing a turtle or a fish, probably more in a ball shape, right? But you're gonna wanna kind of cover it in another layer of paper. It could be tissue paper even, to make it a little bigger. Now, still, it's not quite big enough for me. I want it a little bigger. So I'm gonna keep adding paper until it's sort of the size I want. So all I'm doing is putting my crumpled ball inside another piece of paper until I have sort of the shape that I want. So that's almost there. I want to make it a little longer, so I'm just, yeah.
Somebody had a question and I'm not sure if it was answered. Are we drawing to size?
Oh, sorry about that. You don't have to draw to size. The drawing is really to help you figure out all the parts that you need. I would do your animal sort of like a handheld size. You could also do a really small one if you want. I find it easier to do it sort of so it's like a handheld sort of prop, right? So I drew my narwhal really, really big just so you guys can see it. Okay, you could make it as big or small as you're comfortable. Okay, so I kind of have this little shape, which is a great start, but I do want my body to be a little longer. So I'm gonna put my ball that I made sort of into another paper, and I'm gonna roll it this time and make it a little bit longer. Want your paper to be kind of tight. So the more layers that when you smush it, it's really, really solid. That's sort of the best. So what I did, the bottom's a little flimsy, so I'm just gonna fold it like this. So I have a really nice start to my narwhal. Okay. So what I have to do now is I have to tape this entire thing so that it doesn't just uncrumple when I let my hands go. We are just doing the main body of your animal. So if you are doing a turtle, yours might look something like this. If you're doing a fish, it might be more of like an oval shape like this, right? Don't worry about all the other parts right now. Just worry about the biggest part of your animal. So for mine, it's the narwhal's body. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna tape this up with my painter's tape, and I'm gonna tape all the way around, and I'm actually gonna cover my entire paper sculpture with it. So you can see mine's almost actually to scale. So yeah, you don't have to do it that way. So I want this whole thing completely covered in tape because you'll see these little tape seams under your paint. So if you had to do something with the head, create the body, tape it up, and then make the head, make it a little smaller, right? Keep all the parts separate for now. So all I'm doing is wrapping my paper sculpture with a ton of tape. So not only does it stay together, but it creates almost like a blank canvas for your paint. I'm just taping and taping and taping. Anyone has questions, please just let me know. That is a-okay. If not, just keep on going. Your body might not be as big as mine, and that's okay. I'm like wrapping my paper. So I'm almost there. I have a little bit more to take.
How dense does it need to be, or should it be?
How dense?
Yeah, like how firm should I make this thing?
Like mine's still a little bit squishy. But it's better to have it, like you could do it super, super dense. As long as it's not like really flimsy, it's gonna work. Like I keep mine like a little bit squishy still.
So a little squish is okay, but not too much squish.
Yeah, like you want the paper to kind of be crumpled enough so it creates a really nice like structure for you. That's a great question. It's gonna work either way, however. Kind of, whoop, my tape stuck. The more dense it is, the better sort of canvas you're giving yourself to paint on. Okay, so I still have that little bit of top left. Hang on. Maybe when everyone has finished this step of just the body, maybe just give me an emoji or a thumbs up so I know that I can continue. Okay, so here's my body. I can still, when it's a little bit squishy, you have a little bit of flexibility to actually shape it the way that you want. So I want mine like a little more curvy. Okay, so I'm just gonna squish it now that I've taped it into a slight curve. Okay, I have not added the tail or the fins or the horn yet. This is just the body. So once you're at this stage, or if you have a body and a head that's separate and taped up, maybe just give me an emoji so I know you're ready for the next step. Or if you need help, let me know and I can help you. So it's okay if it's not, perfect. That's all gonna get covered when we paint it. I kind of call this part like the ugly stage. Before we paint it, you might have some doubts about this because it doesn't look the most attractive covered in tape, right? It's one of these things where we have to trust the process a little bit. Okay. When you have this little body ready, let me know, and then we can continue on to the next part.
I was looking for an icon to represent the body.
Oh, nice. I like that, Robin. You did like a little t-shirt. So Robin is ready. Is anybody else? Not quite. Okay.
My body is really rough, and I am assuming that we'll be adding, we'll be enhancing it with the legs that things are added, right?
Yes, of course. We're just sort of doing the shape here, and then all the nice parts are slowly going to get added.
Sounds good.
So if you're ready, and if not, I can always repeat this step. But for instance, my narwhal, I need a back fin, I need 2 swimming fins, and I need the horn. So what I have here is just a scrap piece of cardboard. Okay, so I'm gonna use this to create my little offshoot. So for instance, my turtle had 4 fins. My whale has tails and fins. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw them all separately on here. So for my narwhal, I'm gonna first start with these fins right here. If you want them symmetrical, so that means the same on both sides, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold my cardboard piece in half. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw on what I want the fins to look like. Just with a marker, everything is going to be covered in paint, so we won't see that. So I've drawn half my back fin here, and I'm gonna cut it out all together. Okay, and when I open it up, I have a symmetrical fin. So what I like to do is kind of leave everything separate until the end. So I have my fin for the back, and now I want these 2 fins to be the same too. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna fold my cardboard in half so I could do it at the same time. And I'm gonna add my fins. It's better to make things a little bit longer than you need to, just so when we tape it, you have a little bit of wiggle room. I'm cutting these 2 out at once, so I have 2 fins. Right? These are going to be added to the bottom of my narwhal. Okay. Now I need the horn. So if you have anything with ears, anything like that, you are going to cut those out of cardboard. So say if you were doing, like some fish have gills that come out, maybe that goes on with cardboard. Okay, for my narwhal horn, how I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna cut the top of this just into a point, and I'm gonna get my tape ready. And what I'm gonna do is just roll it. So if you have things with legs, it's great to start out with a rectangle and you just roll it and tape it. And those will make really nice sturdy legs for you. And then you could always measure them up so that they're the same size. This is a little hard to roll, but some cardboard's really thick. If you have thinner stuff, it works better. I just took the little label off to make it easier. I'm just gonna roll this, and then I can always cut down my horn after. Just like legs, you could cut it down. Okay, so I've rolled it, and now I'm just gonna tape it, just so it doesn't unroll on me. I'm doing okay so far. This is how I would make legs as well, is you're gonna start with sort of a rectangle, roll them up, and then you could cut them down so they're the same size. Okay, like this is a little, maybe a little long for my narwhal. I'm gonna cut it down just a little bit. Okay, now I have my narwhal horn, my beautiful fins, and my tail. If you want to be super fancy about it, and you have something like a pipe cleaner, did I miss a question? A whale? That's okay. It's supposed to be a fish, right? Michelle and Roman? Yeah. If it looks more like a whale. Oh, let's see. Hey, that's really good. I think it only looks like a whale because we don't have the fish fins yet. Right? You need the little fish fins. And if you want to turn it into a whale instead, that's okay. You can change it. That's totally okay. Okay? Keep on going. So do your little fish fins. If you want to be a little fancy, if you have like a special part of yours, you could always do something like this. That we could, I like to do this at the end to give it texture, but you might want to think about these things as like, what do you need to add to it at the end, right? So I just wanted to show you that because usually something like a narwhal horn has that sort of spiral texture. I'm not gonna do it at this stage. I'm gonna do it at the end with like a pipe cleaner once it's done painted. Okay. So if you have all the parts, all the extra parts that you need, I'm gonna get my tape ready. I like to add some at the top and some at the bottom. So my narwhal body's a little weird back here. So I actually want to camouflage some of that with my tail. If yours is the opposite problem and maybe you don't have a long enough back part for yours, you could put it at the bottom and elongate it that way. So there's little tricks you could do. So my tail is just gonna get taped on top here. And what I might do is just add a little bit of tape at the bottom so that there's a smooth sort of connection here. Okay. I'm just taping it to make it really look like that tail was kind of meant to be there. Okay. There we go. Now for my fins, I want these actually taped to the bottom of my narwhal. So I'm gonna flip it over. And I'm gonna tape them on to the bottom. I'm just trying to pick a good spot for it. Be there. You can't really get this wrong. It's just tape, right? I know it might look a little strange too, but once you add the colors of the animal, it's gonna look great. Right, so I have my little fins on, my tail's on. Now the horn. Things like this is a little trickier to attach. Tiny, tiny things like ears, spikes, they're kind of hard to attach. So how I like to do it, let's see if I, ooh, a wire. That's awesome, Robin. So if you have wire, you could certainly add it inside some of these parts to curve them. Okay, so for my nose or my horn, I'm gonna have to hold it and I'll put one piece of tape sort of up and down on, like up the horn, okay? It's gonna be hard to stick at first. It's okay, it's gonna work. And do another up and down tape strip. And this works for legs too. Things that are circles are hard. Okay, and then I'm gonna take one piece of tape. Now that I have my tape going up and down the creature, it's not very stable. However, it is giving me a place to put my tape. So now I'm gonna wrap this last piece around those pieces that I just put on. And this really helps to secure those items that are really hard to tape. Okay, let's see. That's pretty good. And of course, if you want to add something silly, like a crown or a top hat to your animal, you can certainly do that and make it your own. I would just make some, like a prop or something for it out of cardboard. Right? So if you are at the stage of attaching everything, I like to, before I do anything else to it, I like to give it a shake test. So because this is something I'm gonna wanna play with and touch, I wanna make sure that once I start painting it, it's not gonna fall apart. So very gently, I'm gonna kind of wiggle my sculpture. I'm gonna gently sort of pull and push on my little elements, because at this stage, you want it to be really, really solid so that later on when you start decorating it, it doesn't fall apart and get a little, that's the part that's sort of a little discouraging. So like this little fin's a little wiggly. So now I can fix that before I do any of the detail part. Okay. I'm gonna add extra tape to this little fin so it doesn't fall off when I'm painting it or even after. That would be pretty sad. I'm gonna just do it to my other fin too, just in case. And if you're feeling a little discouraged at this stage, it's okay. They look a little ugly at this point. They're just made with tape and sort of recyclables, right? So sometimes it's hard to see how this is gonna turn into a beautiful sculpture, but I promise you it will. If you have all the parts, it's going to look like the animal. Okay. Does anybody have questions or need help at this point? Not yet. Okay. So keep on going. I'm gonna say maybe try in like 5 minutes to see if you could get it all together. Fine. Okay. In the next few minutes, try and put all the parts together. If you have a head that needs to go on, attach that onto your body. If you need little wings or fins, attach that onto your body. Attach your tail. Give it the little shake and wiggle test. Make sure nothing is gonna fall off. As we paint these, the paint helps to kind of make this structure a little bit harder too. So it will hold down any of your little tapes that's starting to flap up. It's gonna help add structure and strength to your sculpture. If you are feeling like you're done and you're just waiting for other people to finish, you can always get your paint palette together. Pick out the colors of paint that you want your animal. Again, you don't have to do it the colors of the actual animal. If you're doing a dolphin and you want to make it pink, go for it. If you're doing a turtle and you wanted to make it like a rainbow or have sort of like a galaxy on its back, you can do that and make those creative choices so that it's unique to you. And if you're getting your paint together, remember to get a few sizes of brushes. So definitely a big brush for your big surfaces, and then a few smaller brushes for little details that you might need. I use old containers. You can't recycle for my paint containers. So this has a little bit of water in it. I have a little tissue paper to dab my brush, And then I've put together my paint palette here. And if you have, I have just acrylic paints, those work the best, but you could also use tempera paints, or sometimes people have sort of these squeezy tube paints where you could either squeeze it out into a palette or use these at the end. So that's what I use for my turtle, to make all of these kind of lines and details. If you have a little bit of sparkles you want to add to your paint, you could do that as well. And then anything like gems or maybe googly eyes or finer detail we could add at the end. Okay, so if you want, why don't you guys give me sort of maybe an emoji again to know that you're ready to start painting. Sometimes I'm super duper fast and I have to wait, which is okay, but I don't want to rush too far ahead. And it's hard for me to see where you're at when all your cameras are off, right? So maybe just give me any type of emoji when you're at, like, you're ready to paint, okay? Just take your time though. We got lots and lots of time. Okay, Robin, that's not a problem. If you are doing like a super duper detailed one, you can continue. And if you need help, let me know.
Turn my camera on real quick. I'm making a sea otter.
And
I like things really smooth. So I'm gonna, and I'm not set up for painting. So I'm just going to focus on trying to get it really nice.
Oh, that's awesome. Super cute. Yeah, so these are great because you could spend the most amount of time on detail and like perfecting it, or you can do them quite quick and they turn out amazing as well. So if you need any help adding like the little smaller details, let me know. If not, keep going. Great job so far.
Thank you. I am going to keep my camera off because of my poor bandwidth.
Oh, that's okay, no problem. And everybody else. And I know everyone works at their own pace too. I always try and go a little bit faster than everyone else because there's always somebody that wants the next step. So if I am going too fast, just let me know and I can repeat myself. So what I'm gonna do, as everyone seems like they're in a good place, I'm gonna start to paint my narwhal. My picture has spots on it. I really want to do these spots, but it's gonna take a few coats and a little bit of waiting for me to be able to achieve that. So what I'm gonna do is just paint my narwhal. I like to start at the back because It's okay if this gets a little bit messy. It's the bottom, so you won't see it too much, but it is important to paint the whole entire sculpture. Okay, so like I said, you could paint it any color you want. If you need help with color mixing, let me know and I can help you make a specific color. What I am gonna do for my narwhal is I am going to make its underbelly a little bit lighter than the top part of my narwhal. Okay, so I'm just gonna paint right over the tape. Some colors work a lot better to cover up your tape, others don't. I find if you add a teeny bit of white into any color that you're using, at least for the first coat, it's really gonna help cover up that green painter's tape if you're using green. Okay, sometimes this color is really, really challenging to cover up, but if you add a little bit of white, it makes your life a lot easier. I'm gonna cover all the little nooks and crannies with my paint. I really want to sort of get in there and allow the paint to kind of cover up all those little tape ends too. So it's gonna help create a better structure for your sculpture afterwards. I like painting it sort of a solid base coat, and then I could always add all my details on top. Okay, so that's the bottom. I have my little jar of water here. These are great too, because you could make it as complicated or as simple as you'd like, and they're always going to turn out great. So I'm going to dab my extra water out of my brush before I get a new color. Now what we can do, I have my tape roll. I'm going to use it to sort of hold up my narwhal so I can paint the other side, right? My base coat, right? My tape roll is just under there holding this guy up. And now I'm gonna create the color for my base coat. So I wanted it a little bit darker than the underbelly. I'm still gonna add some white, but I have a little bit of a darker blue here. Okay. And this color will cover up my green tape too. You want to paint all the little parts you added, even the cardboard. So because this is a sculpture, we have to remember that it's viewed from all sides. So I like to kind of pick it up, even if it's wet, and just make sure I painted everything with my base coat. Okay. Some pieces might need a few coats, but that's okay. As long as the majority of it's covered, it's really gonna help to do all your detail. Now for my horn, I'm just gonna use white, and I'm gonna paint over my tape with white for now. Just to get that green tape color to go away. So that got covered pretty well. Now it's really starting to look like a narwhal. Once you cover up that tape, it's quite satisfying as your creature animal starts to kind of be born and actually start to see what it can look like. Does anyone have questions yet? Or is everyone doing okay? Yeah, so Christine that had to go, she wrote in the chat that painter's tape and making a sculpture in this manner is much faster than paper mache, and that's completely correct. Paper mache is great because you get this very hard structure, but it's time consuming. It's really, really messy. And some kids and adults don't love getting so messy and sticky. So this is a really quick way to make little models or maquettes or little tiny sculptures that, you know, you're able to achieve in a couple hours rather than paper mache where you're waiting layer after layer to make sure that, you know, you've got enough material on there.
I will confess, I am considering doing a layer of paper mache over this before painting.
And you can. I've also, if you want them really hard and you have plaster bandage, you could always add a layer of plaster bandage as well. But yeah, paper mache is great. You could totally do it. These are more like soft sculptures. They still have a little bit of squish, but they're great for being made out of recyclables and just basic art materials. So if you are still going, you might be at this stage, the painting stage. So I for sure, if you have the time, like you could always do a good white wash in like gesso or something like that to help thicken it up too. But then you have to wait kind of a day for it to go. If you're doing it like me and just trying to get it done in this one workshop, make sure your base coat is tinted so it's close to the color that you want in your animal. And this way I can just add all my wet stuff now so that as it dries, it's all gonna dry together, right? So what I'm gonna do for mine now, I'm gonna move maybe my little paper diagram so you can really see the contrast on my table and see what's happening. Okay, so for mine, mine's wet. I'm okay with it. I'm gonna keep going. The bottom is something I can fix later on, but I want to do my whole thing today. So I want to add lots of little spots to my my narwhal. All I'm gonna do is, even though my paint is wet, I'm gonna add lots and lots of texture. All the pictures I looked up with narwhals had tons and tons of texture. So I'm gonna leave like the eyeballs and all that stuff to the very end. I just really want to get my texture down. I have lots of texture so far. I'm just gonna keep going. Add some white. If you want spots like this too, I'm just hopping my brush up and down to create these little spots. And because all my layers of paint are wet, they're blending together quite nicely. If you want it more blended than mine, you can just keep hopping the brush on the same spots and they will completely blend in. I sort of want this like really, really textured and like high contrast texture for this guy. So I'm leaving mine quite like not blended in. I want to see all these little specks of color when it dries. Okay, so you could see if I go really close, see all this texture on the top of them. And of course you could paint these as realistic as you want or as stylized as you want. Okay, so I think I'm done at least the top of mine. Now I'm gonna work on to my fins a little bit and my my narwhal horn. I'm kind of creating mine as like a stylized narwhal. It's not gonna look realistic. One fin done. Again, it's all gonna dry together. Remember to turn it too, because sculptures are always turned and viewed from all different angles. So this side, once I flipped it around, I noticed I missed a couple of spots. Okay. 2 fins done. I'm gonna do the back ones. Even if it, like, as it dries, you can always add more detail once it's dry. Maybe you have a Sharpie detail you want to add when it's dry. Maybe you want a little bit better coverage or add like the really tiny details later. That's okay. Today, I'm gonna try and get mine pretty dry, like pretty done, so that when it dries, I might just have to add a few marker details and that's it. But sometimes people like to do everything in stages, right? Kind of paint it, let it dry, paint it, let it dry. Both ways are completely valid. If I'm doing mine, like if you're doing yours, how I'm doing mine, the benefits of doing it on wet paint is that you tend to get a lot more sort of this blending action. It's not as crisp as you would get it, sort of if you dried in between stages. So it just depends the look that you like. Oh, that's a great idea, Robin. So yeah, you can, of course, use other recyclables that you find in the house to create all the different details. Make like any animal out of recyclables. You could also add like some sort of detail. So maybe, say if you were doing a penguin, maybe you want a paper or a cardboard iceberg behind it. That you can make in the same sort of way, right? You could add like a little detail like that. Last year at Figment Toronto, we created coral reefs using recyclables and found objects. So I actually brought it here. You could always do something like this, right? Where I've added things like old dried markers, some sponges, some old marker lids. This could be sort of a place for your animal. It could be almost like a stand for it. Or you could even just make like, you know, a seaweed that your turtle is hanging out by, or maybe there's some sort of prop involved. Work on the horn a little bit for my narwhal. Oh, that's a good idea. Robin's asking if anyone has ideas of what her otter could be holding, like in its hands, on its belly. Does anyone have ideas? A ball, that's a good idea. A ball. Maybe like a piece of fruit, strawberry or something, a flower. Michelle and Roman, if you need help, just let me know, okay? Or write it in the chat. I'm still adding my paint details. You see that guy? All right. I'm just adding the little stripes on. Okay, the top of my narwhal is looking pretty good. Now, the bottom of mine, it's still pretty good, but it does have, my paint dries quite fast. I'm just gonna go one over on the bottom of these fins here. I'm gonna flip it back upside down and let it dry. Just a few spots on the tummy too, to kind of make everything sort of blend together. Okay. Flip it back over. Gotta double check none of the paint is starting to show, or the tape I meant. That's looking pretty good. Oh wow, I didn't know that, Robin. You could go see a real narwhal horn in one of the Toronto libraries. That's awesome. Our libraries have some pretty cool things. Okay. If you are at the stage and you are impatient and you don't love waiting, it's wet, so you could just keep adding wet things. Eventually it will dry. If your paint is wet, you can't use markers yet because it's going to ruin the tips of your markers. However, you could add things like, if you have sort of these paint tube pens, you could add some details with those. You could also, if you have any like gems or glitter or googly eyes, you could add those on with white glue as well. It's all going to dry with your animal. And then you could always add those finer marker details, maybe even tomorrow or later tonight when the whole piece is dry. You might have pom-poms, you might have pipe cleaners, you might have some other elements that you really wanted to add in, and you can do that. It's kind of like a rule of thumb. If it's wet, you can add it. If it's a dry thing like a marker, you have to wait till the product is dry. The paint is drying. That's great. So you can let the paint dry if you want to add more details. With marker or anything like that. I don't have googly eyes, but I have these little like kind of rose-shaped gems I'm going to use for my narwhal's eyes today. And then I'm going to add marker on them after. It's just going to help my narwhal's eyes stick out from the body. Okay, so paint's drying. These can dry with it. If you have any other spots or things you want to add, go for it. I'm also, like, you could always add, you know, different things with white glue depending on what you have at home. I'm going to use some of these paint tubes, and I'm going to outline some of these bigger spots because I want it to be really textured. My narwhal to have lots and lots of little bumps. If you're wanting to wait for your paint to dry, you could always work on a prop. You want it, maybe it's like a little baby fish or food or coral or iceberg that it could set in behind when yours is on display. You could do that just with cardboard or with paper too. I'm adding even more polka dots on my narwhal. This guy's been in the ocean for a while, so I kind of want that sort of gnarliness to him. Lots of texture. I'm going to do the horn as well. So instead of using my pipe cleaner, I'm using these sort of colors to create that sort of piping on the horn so that it gives it some texture. It's kind of like puffy paints, but they're just acrylics in a tube. Great for adding texture. Okay, so I have this super really textured horn. Now I'm gonna let that dry. If you are super impatient, you could always pull out a hair dryer and like speed dry your animal. If not, we can kind of hang out, wait for them to dry, add your own detail. If you want to show what you have so far, that's always great. I could spotlight you and you could share what you have so far. If you need help with anything, let me know. Oh, narwhal's horns are toothed. Super cool facts. Narwhals are pretty amazing creatures. I feel like anything in the sea is quite amazing. All very old creatures. Did you want to show me, Michelle? Ah. Ooh, okay, I'm gonna make you big for a sec. I love it! Now, did you go with a fish or did you turn it into a whale?
I stick with a fish.
Yeah, I love it. And you know what? It looks much more fish-like now because you've almost flattened the shape a little bit, where before your whale was like a little more round, right? That's an awesome fish. I love that. Great job.
Her aunt is an artist too, Miss Melanie. You see the picture in the back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're like a family of artists. I love it. Your hands look like mine too. Great job. Now, how are you feeling, Michelle? Are you feeling done and you're gonna let it dry and do details later?
Yeah.
Okay. How about your brother? How's he doing? Is it your brother, Roman?
My cousin.
Cousin.
He didn't do his.
Oh, that's okay. So Michelle, I love what you did. It's fantastic. Do you need any more help from me, or you feel like you're good? You're just gonna add the detail another day?
Yeah.
Amazing. And when it's dry and finished, you could always take a picture and send it in to Figment Toronto, and then we could share it. That would be awesome. You did a wonderful, wonderful job. If you want to hang out, you're more than welcome to. Or if you want to sign out and wash your hands and let it dry, you're allowed to do that as well.
We have to go because we have dinner. So.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Are you on Instagram, Melanie? I'll look for you on Instagram.
Oh, yes. Here, I'll put it in the chat now. So it's just my name, Melanie.Biller, Instagram. And in my bio there, you'll have all my workshops. Oops, that was to Roxanne.
Okay, because if I can't find the children place, maybe I could take a picture and send it to you on Instagram and give her name.
That would be wonderful. I would
because
even love
we're calling you from Belize.
Yes, if you go on my Instagram, it's just my name dot my last name. And that's my Instagram, Melanie.Billard. I have links in there for all my upcoming workshops and shows. And then to my website as well.
Melanie Billard.
Yeah, and I do a ton of kids art stuff all the time. I do community workshops, and then I do my own shows as well.
And all of it is on Eventbrite. You post it there?
Eventbrite I do for larger events, but you'll probably see it on my Instagram first.
Okay. Okay. I'll add you, so look out for Elsie.
Elsie, of course, yeah. And I have my own mailing list as well to let you know about the different events that I'm doing. So even on Instagram, if you send me a message, I can always add you to my mailing list.
Okay, sure, I will. And I'll send you the picture of her art through Instagram because it's going to be there for me to remember.
That would be wonderful.
So I told you we're calling you from Belize, okay? We're not in Canada.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
We're in Central America.
Yeah.
Fantastic.